should all convicted terrorists be facing an automatic life sentence? Or should the focus be on rehabilitation and de-radicalisation, and does that work?
Well, joining us now is journalist Carole Malone, who says that terrorists should be locked up for life. Dr. Usman Hasan, the counter-terrorism expert, who believes de-radicalisation does work. And former prisoner Chris Atkins, who says he witnessed radicalisation whilst in jail but thinks a full life sentence goes against democracy. So three rather different views here. Carole, let's start with you, because, I mean, I'm with you on this. We have a system in this country where over 70 criminals at the moment are on life without parole terror, full life. They'll never come out. And yet, and these include the killers of Lee Rigby, for example, who were radicalised. And yet we seem to treat terrorists like the one who committed this outrage in Streatham on Sunday in a different way. We view them as somehow less dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I keep on hearing stories and talking to people about this and saying, I wonder who's only there for 3 years. He hadn't actually done anything. Well, actually, not strictly true, because when he was arrested by police, he was found with a cache of weapons. He was found with an air gun. He was found with a knife. He was found with an ISIS flag. He had encouraged his girlfriend to behead her parents and had said over periods of years that he wanted to die. His fantasy was to die as a terrorist.
Yep.
And so, you know, so this guy, you know, we all read what his mum said, and she said he was a good boy and he was radicalised in Belmarsh. No, he wasn't. He was a convicted terrorist when he went into Belmarsh.
He probably got further radicalised. I mean, this is the issue we're going to come to here. I think once you go inside, our prison system is so dysfunctional, and Chris will be the perfect person to say, having just been in there, that our system is so dysfunctional that actually it makes things worse.
It does.
So what do we do about that?
But, you know, well, we've got to do something more than we're doing, because the de-radicalisation programme, I know you will say different, it doesn't work. Usman Khan had been on 2 of those de-radicalisation programmes.
This is the London Bridge attacker.
Yes, he was a London Bridge attacker. He was the poster boy for de-radicalisation courses, and they didn't work. And various prison bosses have said terrorists inside are using them as a get-out-of-jail-free card, because you enrol for them. It makes it look like you want to change, and you don't want to change. And Usman Khan, the minute he came out, committed offences, as did
Dr. Usman Hasan, when 2 prisoners remained radicalised, having been released, what evidence is there that de-radicalisation works? I mean, those are 2 examples, but have you got a counterbalance?
But no, we have dozens of successful de-radicalisation cases, dozens, hundreds, tens of thousands around the world. You know, I'm part of the Against Violent Extremism
What about
Network.
here, though?
Over here, there's dozens. I mean, Wahbi Mohammed, 21/7 plotter, Jordan Horner, former ISIS supporter. There are many, many. We don't hear about those good stories.
If somebody's mindset was once, you know, I want to be a jihadi and I want to fight this holy war, what is it that you're saying to people in order to de-radicalise them?
Well, my colleagues and I have actually de-radicalised dozens of young men and women in this country. We have females who do this kind of work as well. You know, I was once a jihadi when I was 19. You know, I took part in jihad in Afghanistan against the communists. That was different then, you know, way before 9/11. But I know the mindset. Many of our colleagues, we know the mindset. And it's basically just kind of growing up and giving them a bit of love, actually, and giving
so
them...
You're saying cuddle a terrorist?
Well, no,
seriously?
No, if they don't change, then you keep them locked up. That's what I'm saying. If they don't change...
Why should, out of interest, why should we show these people any love? If you have been...
Well, because they de-radicalised them.
This guy was 18. This guy was 18. He was a kid, basically.
But my point is...
17, 18 when he was...
Well, he may be a kid, but he's also a kid who got out of prison and within days tried to stab people to death.
Yeah, that's because of our naivety with the system and the short sentences.
It's not naivety, that's murder.
No, the system's naivety, I'm saying. The system's naivety that he would let out so early, and some of the de-radicalisation work has to be kind of toughened up. There's not enough of funding.
If someone like America, and we often berate their justice system, if someone like America, if you're convicted of terror-related offences, you don't come out of jail.
Yeah, I'm not saying treat them specially. This is for everyone. You rehabilitate everyone.
They try and keep the Islamists apart from each other in prison, so they can't continue to radicalise each other.
We're starting to do that. We need to do more of that. We have separation centres in this country now. We've built 4, only 1 is being used.
Chris,
we need to use all 4.
Sorry, just before we move on to Chris, Dr. Hasan, I just want to ask, if we locked everybody up who was convicted of a terrorism offence, even possessing terrorist material, for instance, not a violent offence, but the possession of terrorist material, what effect might that have more broadly? Could that backfire when it comes to radicalisation?
Well, big time, because there's different levels of terrorist offences as well. The serious, dangerous guys, we have to keep a close eye on, because they are very dangerous.
Well, how would you have rated this guy, out of interest? How would you have rated Sudesh Amman? He didn't do anything when he got convicted.
No, pledging allegiance to ISIS actually should be treason. We should maybe bring back treason laws.
But you know,
Right, there are treason laws. They're still in existence. They're not enacted.
We let this man
still on the
out.
Because they're out of date. They need to be modernised.
But how would you have categorised this guy? He'd only, he had stuff, literature and stuff like that. How would you have categorised the threat from this guy?
We need a specialised parole board for radicalised prisoners.
You see the
People
point
who
I'm
know the
making?
experts.
This guy,
this was automatic release, you see, which is ridiculous.
On paper, he's supposedly a low-level terrorist, right? Because he hasn't actually done anything. And yet he was considered so dangerous by the police when he came out that 20 SO-15
Yeah,
armed
but Dr.
cops
Hassan makes the
trailing
point
his every move.
that a specialist parole board could have assessed him and realised...
Okay,
Susanna,
let's go
that's
to
the
Chris.
point. No parole board did assess him.
Exactly.
And you'd think
Yeah,
they
I agree,
would
I
have.
agree.
10 years
On that,
after,
we're all agreed, right?
10 weeks after Usman Khan on the London Bridge, you would think the parole board would have assessed this guy. But
let me come to Chris. Chris, just to put in perspective, you served a 5-year sentence. You did 2.5 years for tax fraud. You're not proud of it. You've written a book about this, and you're honest about your shortcomings. So let's put that on the record. However, what it did give you, this experience, was an insight into the prison service, how it's working.
Or not working.
And in particular, of relevance to this, this radicalisation that goes on inside prison. Tell us about that.
Well, I spent 9 months at HMP Wandsworth, which is probably one of the most dysfunctional prisons in the UK. And it would shock anyone, I think, who hasn't been to prison, just how badly they're run and how 90% of people in there are just locked in their cells all day. And quite often people aren't getting out for showers, they aren't getting out for phone calls, we'd run out of running water, people run out of loo roll. And in that kind of environment, it's going to make radicalisation 10 times more easy. And I'm not talking about people who've been convicted of terrorist offences because they were all over in Belmarsh. I'm talking about people who are convicted of other offences, who are in prison, who have this feeling of massive, massive injustice against the state and government.
Therefore, they're susceptible to radicalisation, even though beforehand they may not have been.
And of course.
But did you see direct evidence of that?
I saw people with severe mental health needs, with learning difficulties, who felt that they were being completely abused by the system, who would go off to Friday prayers, and when they came back, they had some pretty poisonous ideas going on. And you could see that this, I'm not excusing it, but you could see that the system brutalising, let me finish, brutalising people in this way was part of it. I'll give you an example. There was a group of Muslims on my wing, and they all joined Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay, they're strictly teetotal, never drunk in their lives, but they joined the AA so that they could get out for like an extra hour in the day to see their mates
and be with each other.
And be with each other. There was another prisoner on my landing who was notoriously racist, homophobic, Islamophobic. So the prison put him in charge of equalities. He was the equalities
Which is
rep,
ridiculous.
which is completely farcical. I mean, there's a lot of dark humour in this, which is what I put in the book. But the broad point is that people of ethnic minorities have a much, much tougher time
given
in
how
prison
bad it is
than people
inside-
like
All right,
me.
Chris,
and it makes radicalisation a lot easier.
I get that. So given how bad the prison system is...
It's on its knees,
It seems to me that we can't, certainly in the short term, take any more risks that we're going to have this kind of situation happening again. To me, the only...
I understand that point.
Why am I wrong to say that, actually, if you're guilty of a terrorist offence, you are given a life without parole tariff, as 75 people in this country have, and you are kept away from other radicalised Islamists? Why is that wrong?
I think what you're doing in some of these cases, certainly on these what we call softer or more minor terrorist offences, you can't say that someone just possessing a pamphlet means they're locked up forever
And yet
and ever
we
and
know
ever.
he's a murderous jihadi.
He is now. The point
Actually, all the stuff he was
the point
Chris,
is that
all the
if
stuff
you-
he was reading.
Okay.
Actually,
I'm not here to defend
drove
the rights
him
of
to do it.
someone who's
No,
done
but you
this
know what I mean,
appalling
though.
attack.
He
What I
wasn't- he
would
wasn't
say,
low-level
But hang on, can
terrorist.
I make the point?
Piers,
Piers
I've
asked me a point.
de-radicalised
Can I
people
just
like
finish
that.
the
I've
point?
de-radicalised people like that with the right
But
approach.
Piers, even if someone is sentenced...
Well, let Chris finish his point. Then I'll come to you.
The point is that if you're saying, as the government has just proposed, and there is some argument for it, let's just get rid of the automatic half-time release and make them serve their full sentences, which is probably what's going to go through. You're just kicking the can down the road. You're going to keep them in prison for longer, where the radicalisation can take hold for greater, because they're not being rehabilitated in prison. I'm sorry, but they're just not. Nor are they for any other crimes. And that means that when they get out, they're just even more likely to
Yeah, but I wouldn't let
crime.
them out.
But well, I think for
But
possessing a
Piers,
pamphlet,
sorry,
you can't lock them up
if
If
you
forever.
you're
don't-
convicted of a
but
terror
Piers-
offence, you don't come out of prison.
But Piers, if you
Period.
I understand the whole thing about the parole board assessing them and
don't think the parole
deciding
board's gonna
whether
solve all
they,
your problems,
but whether
because
they
there's
should.
dysfunction as
But if
everything
you
else.
keep people in prison forever for these crimes, you have then what Dr. Hasan says is the backlash, where actually you might end up with more
No,
radicalised
because
they're inside.
I would segregate them
They're
inside. I wouldn't allow them.
But what about the
to
radicalisation
mix
of people?
with other
But even-
terror?
What about
Even if
people
we
who
give
haven't
people-
committed
Further
terror
radicalised.
offences?
Even if we give people 10-year offences, with these new laws, they will still only serve 2/3 of that sentence.
Right.
Give them the 10 years. Keep them, and then that's
And then in 10 years
maybe
they
do-
reoffend.